The president of the Pan-African Parliament, Fortans of Fania Charambira, called Sunday in Rabat for coordinating the preparation and implementation of a youth-oriented strategy, in particular with regard to simplifying procedures for movement between borders, migration and free travel between African countries. In his speech during the opening session of the Second African Parliament Youth Dialogue organized by the Pan-African Parliament, the President of the African Parliament stressed the role of youth in the African continent as they are the majority of the population in terms of demography, considering that this conference, which is hosted by the Moroccan Parliament, is important in order to bring about change in the reality of young people and involving them in solving their various problems, the most prominent of which is unemployment among graduate holders. Mr. Charambira noted that despite the rich resources and economic potential that the African continent abounds in, African youth are still vulnerable to exclusion and do not benefit from the various opportunities available to achieve leadership, especially in light of the repercussions of climate change, stressing the need to protect young people from political exploitation in the electoral stations. And after praising the work of the Youth Caucus in the African Parliament, the parliamentary official called for intensifying efforts to evaluate and improve African policies directed at this group, wondering about the possibility of crystallizing legislative work directed at youth, given that the youth are looking forward to what we are doing at the level of the national parliament to present practical measures and legislation for their benefit. For his part, Minister of Youth, Culture, and Communication, Mohamed El-Mahdi Ben Said, stressed that youth issues concern all fields, as the commitments of the 2030 to 2063 agenda include strategies and ideas to advance the status of African youth, stressing that the time has come to unite efforts and bring points of view closer to ensure a better future for our African continent and for her youth. Mr. Ben Said highlighted that the development of African countries is based today on the independence of young people in decision-making, considering that we bear the responsibility of training the next generation and facilitating their access to basic services, their economic integration and the exercise of their political, democratic and civil rights. For her part, the head of the Youth Caucus in the African Parliament, Leila Dai, confirmed that the African continent is a young continent, according to the World Bank, and abounds with important energies, calling for the empowerment of this group of support and empowerment of the word, considering that only its children who lived in it can defend the continent. And they know its problems. The young parliamentarian highlighted that African youth want to work on defending and pleading for the issues of the continent that believes in peace and coexistence, stressing that the outcomes of this conference aim to advance the empowerment of African youth. It is noteworthy that the participants in the Second African Parliament for Youth Dialogue, which extends over 2 days, will address a number of topics, mainly related to the African Union's methodology for empowering and integrating youth, the 2 African Union initiatives to integrate women and youth financially and economically, and the initiative called 1 Million Next Level. This event will also be distinguished by presenting the Moroccan experience in the field of youth empowerment, especially with regard to providing appropriate conditions for youth liberation and enabling them to take the lead in development issues, as well as the role of parliaments in youth empowerment, and youth empowerment through current legal and continental commitments undertaken by member states. To address the issue of youth empowerment and the role of human rights and the rule of law in promoting the role of youth, the forum, which seeks to contribute to achieving the goals of the African Union, represented in eradicating hunger and malnutrition and promoting social and economic rights, will present the Moroccan experience in the field of youth empowerment, especially with regard to providing appropriate conditions for youth liberation and enabling them to take the lead in development issues.